Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. Our first week back of doing daily episodes. We're back here on this Tuesday, October 29th, almost into November, which is crazy, obviously. We'll just get right into recapping the, unfortunately, L parlay from yesterday, which obviously it was a long shot, obviously, but um, it was 2 of 4, so at least it didn't lose by one leg. It was a nice saving grace, obviously. The Avalanche was indeed a trap, as we talked about potentially being the case, but it didn't even matter because the Yankees' bats were still in Cabo, Cancun, whatever you want to say. The Suns and Steelers came through. They were a big favorite, so obviously no surprise there. Any thoughts, Korea, on how the parlay ended up?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, it was 2 and 4. It was a little, just long shot. Like you said, we weren't, the biggest, proprietors of the NHL. So obviously, that was, we knew if it was going to be one that was going to be selling us, it was probably going to be the Avalanche. So obviously they did. So but neither here nor there. I'm a little more upset with the Yankees. Obviously, that was the one that killed us before, so we didn't even have to worry. The Yankees bats, like you said, Cancun, Cabo, wherever you want to say. They just didn't exist. They're horrible. They're down 3-0 now. Obviously, they had that late 2-run homer from Verdugo. On the last out of the game. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. That was great and all, but obviously the whole game. Like I said, Yankees hadn't met on, and we couldn't even drive that. Aaron Judge, we still have an ATB out for you. This brother's going to be getting a lot of slander. I'm telling you, Aaron Judge. Ever since that Paw Patrol episode came out, brother, you better go back to drive line, learn how to hit a ball again, because my God, this is atrocious. Ever since that, I think he has been cursed since that moment, because he has been in existence since then, and he's been inexistent this whole playoffs. It's just inexistent this whole series. Yankees bat's just atrocious. So that was the more upsetting. Obviously, I'm not upset with the Dodgers because, they put up 4 runs, so you can't really complain. Dodgers did their job, obviously supplying, 4 runs themselves. Obviously, they just took a little bit of a break, when they saw, the Yankees bats aren't still here again. So, they don't really have to do much when they're already 4 runs. So, Dodgers struck early. I thought the Yankees were going to respond. They didn't. So obviously that was a tough loss there. So, but like you said, it was a long shot. And, we didn't really have, I guess the most faith in it, obviously. But we were hoping, it would come through. But obviously Yankees sold us there with their bats, and obviously on the ice rink, Avs. I saw they were down 3-2, and then they had the power play, and then obviously late in the third period, that goal came in, and we knew it was caked. So obviously, that was a loss right there. So, but we didn't put we didn't put anything. We didn't put a whole house on it, maybe half the unit in it, or something like that. So obviously, just moving on. Obviously, moving on to Tuesday here. Like Ari said, going back to the hardwood here. Been waiting for this college basketball here, and I'm going to give out Indiana here to win the Big Ten here at plus 800. I know there are some books like DraftKings that don't really have odds for the Big Ten right now. As soon as they do drop, I would still give Indiana whatever their odds are for there. But the odds I have been seeing or found for my book, I found them at plus 800. And the reason I like Indiana this year, right? The top 4 teams, including Indiana, obviously, in terms of odds, in terms of winning the Big Ten from what I saw, right, were Purdue, UCLA, and Illinois. About plus 400 for Purdue, plus 500 for UCLA, and then Illinois was tied with Indiana at plus 800, right? Both pretty long. It's no consensus number one. And that was the one thing that I saw, when I was looking at the Big Ten this year. There's no consensus number one, right? You have, other conferences where, like Gonzaga, everyone knows Gonzaga is winning the West Coast. You have other conferences where they're going to win. And odds were saying that, Big Ten in a whole new year, obviously, with all these new teams coming in, obviously UCLA, who's going to be a big impact. I think they are going to be a great team, another year under Mick Cronin. And then obviously USC, I think they're going to still be developing, but I still think they have a good program there and with Enfield. And then you look at, they have the Must Bus now. I completely forgot. Yeah, they got the whole Must Bus, excitement there. So there's a whole lot of excitement there. And then they also have obviously UW with Danny Sprinkle, obviously coming from Utah State. They bring in Great Osobor, obviously one of the bigger talents there. And then obviously with Oregon, with Dana Allman, we know how historic of a coach he is at Oregon. He has just been a good program there. But there's no real, story like Indiana, right? And Ari, obviously, I was about to say, Omar Bawa obviously going to Indiana from Arizona. I know personally Miles Rice going from Washington State to Arizona. And from what I've been seeing early out of camp, from early articles from Indiana, there is a lot of excitement for Miles Rice, right? And I've seen it last year, right? Coming in as a freshman, obviously he had the whole he had to deal with having cancer, and obviously that really prolonged, his debut, to become, in college basketball. But obviously last year at Washington State, he was kind of a big reason as to why he led this team, to a round of 32 appearance, obviously playing close to that Iowa State team. And there's a lot of excitement that Miles Rice is starting to find his shot. And that was the big thing for him is that he's a great two-way, but he didn't really have the shot. The three wasn't going for him. But now if he gets that three going, it's going to be a long year for the Big Ten, right? And I think he can be a really big impact player. They still have Trey Galloway, right? They got him as well. And the one thing about this Indiana team that kind of scares me is that from early reports is that if they don't have those big score, if they don't have their key scorers like Rice and Galloway on the court, their offense tends to be a little bit slow. But when you have sides like Ballo inside, I think that provides a lot more. And Ari, obviously, like I said, a lot more about Ballo as well. But, from his time at Arizona, he was a pretty great defender from what I've seen. Obviously he had that game against Washington State. Obviously, I wouldn't say we had his number, but, he definitely had some good – he had some big impacts as well throughout his entire tenure there. But I think what Mike Woodson is doing at Indiana, I think with the collection that he's brought in, just attacking the transfer portal, I think they have one of the best transfer classes in this conference. Obviously, I wouldn't say anything, obviously, but, Michigan brought all of FAU up, so you can't really say anything about that. But I think Indiana has a good shot, obviously. Like I said, they're right now in terms of odds, they're in the top four. So you look at the other three teams, you look at Purdue. Well, I think Purdue's going to take a step back without Zach Edey. They still have Braden Smith, though, but I don't know if Painter's going to have that same success that he did last year going all the way to the national championship. I think Mick Cronin in a new conference kind of it takes a little bit while for, this team to develop, but I think at the end of the season, we're going to be talking about how UCLA is going to be one of the better teams. And I think if you look at these two teams between Illinois and Indiana, I think I like the story with Illinois, obviously, even though they lost, TSJ to the draft, Hawkins to K-State. I still think that they have talent there, but when I am seeing from what I'm seeing and with early reports, and obviously, you can take what you want, but Indiana just went into Knoxville and beat them in a scrimmage, and obviously, it's a scrimmage, and it's not really, it's like preseason, but the fact that Miles Rice was able to shoot 20 on the road, it looks like this offense is really starting to gel together. Defense is really locking in for Mike Woodson. If they just stay healthy and they play the way they've been playing, and I've seen what Miles Rice can do on a basketball court, and obviously what Omar Bawa can do on a basketball court, I think Indiana has a great shot here. They're the fourth best team right now, but I think they could be, in terms of odds, maybe the second best team, to win this conference, because, I don't really take, UCLA as serious as a lot of people do, but, obviously they still have a lot of talent, and I think they're going to be a good team, obviously ranked number 22 preseason, but obviously it's going to take a lot of time to gel with that new conference. And I think Indiana right now, I think is going to be one of the more fun teams that we talk about, just in terms of how successful they might be. So it's an early play. I like giving out college basketball futures. I love talking about, obviously, about a few days away from tip-off here on Monday, November 4th. Yeah, that's the big day, Baylor Gonzaga. Obviously, I'm going to have plays for that one as well. But for now, I just wanted to give out this future, obviously, before I know it goes out on some books. But if you do have it on your book for the Big Ten, I love Indiana to win this conference here at plus 800. Like I said, there's no overwhelming favorite like some other conferences, like I'll get into in a little bit later this week. But when you have these kind of odds where plus 400, plus 500, that just means there's so much variance, right? That also means that, odds makers are saying, oh, there's a lot of top teams here, but there's no consensus number one, right? They say Purdue is the leading favorite, but there's no consensus number one. And with that, I think Obviously, it's a rivalry for Indiana and Purdue. Obviously, one of the best rivalries in college basketball. We know Indiana. They're gonna turn up in that arena. They always do. And I think they steal this Big Ten title from Purdue this year. So I love Indiana to win the Big Ten here at plus 800. Like I said, with all the talent that they brought in and all the talent that they have, and from the early results that I'm seeing, it looks like Indiana might be a sleeper to win the Big Ten here. Even though it's plus 800, I still think it's great value there. So I'm putting a whole unit on it, or probably unit and a half on Indiana to win the Big Ten. Like I said, just a great value price right there. Like I said, I'm giving out like I said, half, or I would say 1.5 units or 1 unit, depending on what you like there. But I think it's a great look here. So that's my one future for today. I'm going to give out one more tomorrow, but I wanted to give out this one first for some of you who do have it, because I know these odds are probably going to be moving soon. But I do love Indiana to win the Big Ten here at plus 800 as the first college basketball future of the season. But Ari, I know you got something on the NBA court tonight. What do you like in tonight's slate?
Yeah, it's a small slate. So I'm just going to the Nuggets and Nets game, and I'm basically buying low on Denver, selling high on the Nets here. The Nets are coming off beating the Bucks as a near, I think, 9-point underdog in that game. The Nuggets have been abysmal, to say the least. They lost their first 2 games, and then yesterday they were down 8 with like 1:40 left, and somehow forced overtime, and then won, and they beat the Raptors. So they barely avoided an 0-3 start with the win in overtime last night. I do hesitate with back-to-backs, but the Nuggets don't really have anybody that I expect to sit in the back-to-back, so I'm assuming that they're going to be a full go with their rotation. And I'm just sticking with the first half just to for the purposes of carrying their momentum from the comeback last night into the start of this game. Again, the Nets aren't a good team, but they upset the Bucks on, I think it was Sunday. Nuggets coming off a miracle comeback, maybe not miracle, but close, a pretty big comeback. 8 points, like 1:40 is a pretty big, obviously. So they finally got the first win over the Raptors last night, facing another bottom 5 to 10 team tonight in the Nets, who are coming off upsetting the Bucks in their last game on Sunday. So really, again, just buying low on the Nuggets here in the first half. It's only 5 points for the whole game, which is low for what you would think for Nuggets. That's game even in Brooklyn. I'm just taking the first half just for them to continue their momentum again, like they finished the game last night for their first win, and then again selling high in the net. So coming off they won by like 13 as a 9-point underdog in their last game. So selling high on them and then just taking the Nuggets. I mean, outside of Jokic, has really been bad for the Nuggets. I mean, Murray stepped up late last night, or stepped up late in yesterday's game, but so they're looking to get back on track. The Nuggets are, and I think this is a game where they can do that, especially here in the first half today.
Yeah, obviously, I love your get out plays for the NBA. Obviously, very, very successful for you last year. Now going into this year, back with the Nuggets here, buying low on them, selling high on this Nets team. Obviously, we always talk about the Bucks here as well. Giannis, I saw he was obviously very, very frustrated with how this Bucks team is performing right now. Obviously, so he lashed out. So there's obviously some locker room turmoil right now going on in Milwaukee. So obviously you can't really say too much about this Nets win. Obviously, they were big underdogs, but the Bucks are not really playing as a cohesive unit right now. In terms of how Giannis is seeing them. So maybe a good buy low, sell high, as you mentioned. On the Nuggets here, first half. Get out, not have to worry about the full game spread. Obviously, with how the Nuggets, you think they should be considerably bigger favorites. Against the Nets, obviously one of the bottom teams in just in the league. So I love you just get out here with the first half. Obviously -2.5 there, -108 for the Nuggets there. Just taking them, just win the first half by 3. Obviously for you, and obviously going back to my college basketball future with Indiana to win the Big Ten here at plus 800. Obviously, you can find both of these plays, of course, on our Twitter below, AKP Sports Talk. We're gonna have that college basketball posted soon, and then obviously Ari's basketball play for the night. And obviously, we're gonna be continuing our weekly episodes daily now. Obviously, continuing tomorrow, and of course next week, Ari. I know you've been waiting for it. We finally get some Tuesday and Wednesday night Maction. Maction is finally back. we've been waiting for it. Obviously, we've been having some Conference USA and some CUSA action in weekday slate, and that's been fun and all, but we know what Tuesdays and Wednesdays are for, and that's action. And so that's obviously going to be coming next week. Obviously, we got a big week next week, obviously, with the trade deadline as well for the NFL. It's going to be a big, exciting Tuesday. So a lot of things coming around, obviously. But tomorrow, we're going to come back with another episode of some more Best Bets. All right, sorry. I'm Korea. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow.